There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Oh shit. Run.
Big one.
Run.
Run.
Yeah, run.
Wow.
Number 2. Intense intercept of significant flash flood and debris flow after dark down Last Chance Creek in southern Utah on July 13th.
Twice as large as I anticipated.
That was amazing. Street meteorologist Reed Timmer ahead of a flash flood that's coming down here. Climbing up.
Number 1. Substantial flash flood and debris flow down Johnson Canyon in southern Utah, just east of Kanab.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh. Good afternoon, everybody. This is a live update on the threat of debris flows today across Colorado, a large portion of Colorado, especially off of those burn scars like those wildfires that burned last fall. The Cameron Peak fire burn scar generated, sadly, a deadly debris flow last night just near the town of Rustic, Colorado. That's in the Poudre Canyon there. Just to the west of Fort Collins, deadly debris flow came down that. And a lot of these debris flows, even like the ones that you see here, emanate from burn scars, from wildfires, even the previous season or years in the past. And that's because they burn away the vegetation and expose that debris like logs, rock, and ash. It contributes to that very dark flood water that will come off of these burn scars. I've covered many of these debris flows over the years, including one that was off of the 416 fire to the north of Durango off of Hermosa Creek in 2018. I was in hardcore debris flow mode at that time. Here you can see some floods that I chased with a legendary David Rankin out there in southern Utah as well. This was near the town of Bigwater, just to the north of Page, Arizona. And here you can see the one from Hermosa Creek. The creek started off just a gently flowing mountain stream and then suddenly was overwhelmed by large debris, logs, rocks, helicopters coming overhead as mudslides were blocking the road there, that scenic road to the north of Durango, Colorado. And I could actually smell this flood well in advance of its arrival. So it came roaring down Hermosa Creek, and I could smell that earthy smell out there as well. Will emanate from burn scars of significant wildfire in the previous fall or even years in advance. These wildfires will destroy vegetation and expose debris to be carried away by flood. And that was Hermosa Creek back in 2018, and there was a very devastating fire just to the north of Durango there that caused that. And as I mentioned, many of these flash floods will come off these burn scars. This is the Cal Wood fire that I covered last year to the northwest of Boulder. It's a smaller burn scar, but there is a threat of debris flows off of this burn scar as well, especially if a storm can anchor over that burn scar and dump in excess of 3/4 of an inch of rain in about an hour. And the storm that actually dumped last night, the storm that dumped last night's rain and produced the debris flow yesterday, actually only produced about 1.41 inches of radar estimated precipitation. You're looking at the map from the right. This is from the archive tool at Radar Omega. And here I'll loop this thing. There it goes. Should be starting to move there. And you can start to see that rainfall accumulate. And that dark green area just to the northwest of Estes Park, that's a storm total rainfall of about 1.4 inches, which doesn't seem like a lot. But when that rain is falling on those burn scars with that debris totally exposed, that soil exposed, no vegetation, it actually looks like there are some totals in excess of 2 inches that fell there in a storm total sense over the Cameron Peak burn scar to the west of Rustic, sending a debris flow down that canyon. And that was the result of a merger of cells And here, if you look at the image on the left, that's radar reflectivity. And these mountain monsoonal storms, the ones that are the most prolific rainfall producers and the ones that have the greatest flash flood potential, are those where you can actually see the spinning in the reflectivity pattern. And those are storms that are producing quite a bit of latent heat as well. See if I can move this forward. My computer is flipping out because I'm running so many things on it right now. But that hourly rainfall in excess of 2 inches was actually from a storm that developed off to its south, and it had some cyclonic spin to it. It was producing a lot of latent heat. That leads to pressure falls at the low levels and can actually cause the reflectivity pattern to develop that cyclonic rotation. It also looked like it shed a split off to the north, a little split, and a rain blob went from that echo off to the south, merged with a new cell that was developing right over the Cameron Peak fire burn scar. And that dumped over 2 inches of rain, sending a deadly debris flow down the creek to the west of Rustic, taking out homes even, anything along the Highway 14 there to the west of Fort Collins, well to the west of Fort Collins, had some serious problems. And I think that road is still closed as of today. And more flash flood watches are in effect across the mountains of Colorado right now, but I'm mainly monitoring those burn scars at this time. That includes the Cameron Peak fire burn scar. That also includes the East Troublesome fire burn scar. I was thinking about just heading straight to Grand Lake and taking that road to the north of Grand Lake, right along the creek there. And if a storm anchors to the north of Grand Lake near the southern part of Rocky Mountain National Park, then that could definitely send a debris flow down that creek as well. I'm also keeping an eye on that wildfire burn scar. I just showed you that footage from the coverage that I had last year. And you can see the flash flood watches that are in effect, expecting, in general, greater precipitation across southern Colorado and those burn scars down there, but also to the west of the Continental Divide. Vail is included to that. All the way back toward Glenwood Canyon, and I-70 has been closed due to mudslides and debris flows out there as well, off of, I believe, the Grizzly Creek burn scar up there near Glenwood Springs. It has already closed I-70 a few times as well. And this map right here is from the National Weather Service, and this shows the threat of flooding is moderate there in orange, slight in the yellow, but the large burn scars there are outlined in red, and you can see the Cameron Peak fire off to the north. It is to the west of Fort Collins. This is the one that had that storm that dumped over 2 inches of rain on it yesterday evening. Mandatory evacuations for the town of Rustic there as well. Here you can see the East Troublesome fire, and I was thinking about heading straight to Grand Lake and then heading right up into Rocky Mountain National Park there. There have been storms with some higher ecotops that have formed there to the north of Grand Lake that almost got me to leave and cut this live briefing short. But I'm still monitoring radar. The Williams Fork fire down here in the southern portion of Grand County is also a concern for those debris flows. And also the Wood fire in Boulder County. It's a smaller burn scar, but if a storm can anchor over that scar and dump in excess of 3/4 of an inch of rain over an hour period, then that one will also have a chance of producing a deadly burn scar. And then down here, you've got this old fire that's very large. I think this was the largest fire in Colorado history until last year when you had this Cameron Peak and Troublesome Complex up there, causing all those problems in northern Colorado. Grand Lake had a very tragic incident last fall with many structures being burned there in town. Well, these scars, now we're finding ourselves in the middle of monsoon season, so if any storms are able to find themselves within these burn scars, and they're likely going to produce debris flows. I also covered a debris flow down in Levita Pass down in southern Colorado that summer of 2018 or 19, and went right into the middle of that burn scar. And honestly, I got a little bit spooked and worried that I was going to be swept away by a debris flow out there and no one would hear from me again. So I retreated a little bit up the hill, and then bam, the flow came in there, and I just missed it. But I was parked right next to it. Would have had a front row seat on that debris flow, but these are very dangerous flows as well. You have to be very careful out there. And even these fires that are years old can still cause big-time debris flows and big problems out there But these areas here on orange are where the expected storm coverage is supposed to be greatest, and overlaid with these burn scars as well. So you can see southwest Colorado expecting the heaviest rain. A lot of heavy rain too to the south of I-70. But yesterday, majority of those flash flood watches were across the western slope of Colorado. And then you had that one isolated storm scale or mesoscale processes with that storm developing over the western edge here of the Cameron Peak Fire in Larimer County. And it was actually the result of a merger of a couple of heavy rain producing storms that came together to produce that rainfall hourly total in excess of 2 inches in spots, at least being estimated by radar. Sometimes those hourly rainfall rates, as estimated by radar, are a little bit inflated due to the presence of hail, ramping up that reflectivity. But some of these higher terrain monsoon storms really don't produce as much hail as those storms do over the Colorado foothills, and you have a little bit of wind shear out there as well. But that's a map from the National Weather Service that summarizes that threat very well. But keep in mind that even over those yellow areas where the flood threat is low, you can have deadly debris flows. All it takes is one storm dumping an inch or two of rain over a 1 to 2 hour period, and you get big time problems. So now let's look at the HRRR here, and then we'll look at, well, first let's just look at regular radar here on a radar Omega and see if we have any candidates right now that we are watching for floods. Thank you guys for joining me for this live streamed weather report. Sorry I've been slacking at my live briefings, but I do have renewed energy and domination happening. After last weekend, I had some friends from high school that came down to visit me. Had a great time out there, and I do feel energized. I continue to take the activated charcoal, riding my bike, getting my Dominator Fore fixed. I got an appointment tomorrow at noon at a shop in Evergreen, Colorado, and they think that they could fix it. Sounds like it's a radiator issue, but I've been having to go like 25 miles an hour up the hill on Interstate 70 with a huge line of traffic back behind me as my vehicle's barely able to make it up the hill right now, but it looks like they're going to be able to fix Dominator Fore. I don't want to jump to conclusions and jinx it by any means, but I was watching this complex of storms here that fired just to the north of Grand Lake. This is over that east troublesome burn scar there. This is Grand County down here, actually. So you also have that Williams Fork fire down in the southern portion of Grand County. You can see Grand Lake out there as well in that location. That burn scar, that massive east troublesome burn scar, is to the north of Grand Lake. So I'm keeping a very close eye on that burn scar for an intense heavy rain producing storm to park over that scar and dump in excess of 3/4 of an inch of rain. If that happens, I'm going to mobilize and head that way, even with my blown out radiator, and try to intercept that debris flow. But it looks like that one died out just a little bit, but there could have been some beam blockage due to the mountains here. So I like to use echotops to assess the robustness of these monsoon storms. And that thing definitely had a decent echotop that spiked up here to the north of Grand Lake, to the west of Estes Park, just to the west of the Continental Divide. And this one definitely had my attention for a little while. There you can see it blow up there just to the north of Grand Lake, but it has since collapsed. And it does look like we do have a couple more echoes that are developing to the west of that. So it's possible that this could turn into a situation where these heavy rain-producing storms are training over the same area, moving over this burn scar. That likely dumped quite a bit of rain there just to the north of Grand Lake already, with that echotop going up and then collapsing back down, definitely resulting in a core dump of sorts out there. And then it does have some more echoes developing upstream, moving over that east troublesome fire burn scar. So I'm keeping a very close eye on this, including those hourly rainfall totals. I was also wondering if this monsoon storm might be able to cross the Continental Divide from west to east, and then potentially would become an issue here for the Cal Woodfire burn scar to the northwest of Boulder. So I am keeping a close eye on that complex, or maybe renewed development here to the east of the Continental Divide with a new heavy rain producing storm that could anchor across the terrain here. Looking off to the west, there are some decent echotops well to the northwest of the Williams Fork fire. But if any of those storms are able to migrate down across this complex terrain of the Williams Fork fire burn scar, that could also be a problem A couple of those to the south of Steamboat Springs are pulsing way up. Likely do have some big-time rain shafts associated with those. And there's also some towers off to the south as well, where those flash flood warnings continue. My friend Eric Kelly is down there working these storms down to the north of Salida that do have are in the vicinity of burn scars as well. It's possible that these individual storms could congeal into one mass and definitely could cause a problem. And then you've got this one also off to the south of I-70, southwest side of Denver, that we need to keep an eye on. And this is a problem here. This one that just fired to the north of Glenwood Springs, that's over the Grizzly Gulch fire there. That's already led to some road closures along I-70 with those mudslides out here. So this storm is hardly moving to the northwest of Gypsum, to the northeast of Glenwood Springs, right in the vicinity of that fire burn scar. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some more flash flood warnings that will come out of these storms on the western slope out here, western Colorado, that are not too far from that Grizzly Gulch fire burn scar, if not directly over it. And those could certainly be a problem out there as well. We can look at Grand Junction radar to maybe get a better scan of that storm. And yep, that is a big-time heavy rain-producing storm up here, northeast of Glenwood Springs, that could result in a dangerous debris flow that I wouldn't even be surprised if it's already closed down here, I believe, I-70 to the west of Gypsum, for this concern of debris flows, potentially deadly debris flows across Interstate 70, including mudslides. And we've got a very heavy rain-producing storm up there that is anchored over that higher terrain to the north of Glenwood. And it's hardly moving. Look at that thing. It's probably where I should be right now. If I had a full-blown radiator, I would definitely be on that storm right there near Glenwood, northeast of Glenwood, very close to that fire that we were covering last year out there. I also covered that aftermath for AccuWeather out there actually while that fire was going, embedded with the media out there, and rode into that fire to see it just after, as it was starting to be contained. But definitely monsoon season. Look at all these storms firing across western Colorado there. And that one just to the north of Glenwood Springs, if it can sustain itself for another half hour or so, that one is certainly going to be a flash flood producer as well. So we'll keep a very close eye on that here at Team Dominator headquarters. I may even blast west and see if I can get Dominator Fore over the Continental Divide. The problem is that I get it fixed tomorrow at noon, so I don't want to blast out there, blow apart the engine when I absolutely don't have to. But this is a very heavy rain-producing storm to the northeast of Glenwood Springs, northwest of Gypsum. Need to keep a close eye on that one for the potential of producing some very heavy rain. See what we got out there for hourly precip. According to this, we're already starting to approach that 1 inch mark even. Possibly. If we start to see those yellows, that means that there's 2 inch totals in the last hour, and that's definitely a big problem. But we're certainly getting some big time rainfall from this storm to the northeast of Glenwood Springs. We're just starting to get some information from this one. It's just starting to accumulate, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a plug that comes right down this gulch right here, or any of these little gulches off of that plateau. White River Plateau, I believe that is. So any of these could have a dangerous debris flow that could come down and impact I-70, and that's why it is closed to the west of Gypsum and to the east of Glenwood Springs. But we will certainly continue to watch that threat closely. And that storm that seems to be reinvigorating over the East Troublesome fire as well. We will certainly keep an eye on that. Again, here are some of those debris flows.
Big one, run! Run? Yeah, run! Wow!
Number 2. Intense intercept of significant flash flood and debris flow after dark down Last Chance Creek in southern Utah on July 13th.
Woo! Twice as large as I anticipated.
That was amazing! This is extreme meteorologist Reed Timmer ahead of a flash flood that's coming down the canyon here.
There's the internet.
Climbing up! Number 1. Substantial flash flood and debris flow down Johnson Canyon in southern Utah, just east of Kanab. Oh, wow! Wow! Oh!
And it is true, we just had a flash flood warning. Another one that got issued to the west of Fort Collins for that storm that just developed to the south of Rustic this time. Definitely blowing up there. And there is a storm that has fire between Allens Park and Estes Park right now that I need to keep a very close eye on too. If that one reinvigorates, it could propagate off to the southeast over the Calwood fire burn scar. Trying to play that debris flow video, but my computer's getting a little bit bogged down right now. But that was with flash flood chasing expert David Rankin. That brought us into the middle of the grand staircase there, Last Chance Creek. Waited for hours. We could smell that flash flood coming well in advance. And then it arrived, and you heard him exclaim, "Run!" And we had to get out there, and then the debris actually pushed us back a little bit. We retreated up the bank just a bit, but that was one of the best storm chasing moments of my life, honestly. One of the most exciting moments I've ever had up there. Thank you to the flash flood guru, all-time naturalist, David Rankin out there. And I want to break down this radar imagery of that flash flood warning that was just issued once again in Larimer County. Look at the warning statement here. 3 hours for the warning. It's across the Cameron Peak burn area. Flash flooding is expected to begin shortly. Flash flooding of small creeks and gulches. Western Fort Collins even. Glen Haven, Buckhorn Mountain, Drake, Pingree Park, Rustic as well, Masonville, and Horsetooth Mountain. Including Road 44H. So I probably should head up there and intercept that. It's a couple hours away right now, but let me pull back as I'm pulling up Radar Omega app here real quick. There it goes. So here's that flash flood warning right now. That's a little bit further south than the storm went yesterday. That flow happened to the west of Rustic, right along that creek. That is along Highway 14, Poudre Canyon there, Poudre Creek. And you can see that creek runs all the way down through the north side of Fort Collins there. I don't think that debris flow made it all the way down to the bottom, but this one's coming in just a little bit further south. And let's shift on over to Denver radar really quick. My computer is getting a little bit bogged down. And there it is. There's the reflectivity, and they are issuing warnings like this all over this Cameron Peak fire burn scar. Anytime you get this enhancement of reflectivity there, that could cause some problems to the south of Mount McConnell there, northwest of Signal Mountain, certainly could be a problem. North of Glen Haven, and you got another storm that's developing to the south of Estes Park. And this one could propagate a little bit off to the southeast toward that wildfire burn scar. But this is the first flash flood warning that's been issued for Colorado. It is to the west of Fort Collins there. Very possible that these storms could cluster together and start producing some enhanced hourly rainfall rates. But that thing's barely moving. And this is exactly the area that we tried to sample about a week or two ago up here near Signal Mountain to the northwest of Glen Haven, in the vicinity of the Cameron Peak Fire burn scar as well. So this is the first flash flood warning that's been issued here. And that includes the west side of Fort Collins, just in case one of these debris flows are able to make it all the way down the gulch down there into the west side of Fort Collins. Definitely have to keep an eye on that one as well. So you heard it here. This is a live update. It's usually these burn scars that will cause this flash flooding, debris flows from wildfires that last season or even years in the past. Whenever they take out that vegetation, it can pick up debris, sticks, rocks. Then all the flood continues to pile up back behind it. The front of the flood moves a little bit slower. It accumulates that debris. The friction of the earth interacts, so the front edge of the flood is moving slower, and it continues to pile up mass and water back behind it until it becomes a deadly flow going down those creek beds that often have campers and hikers along them as well. And that's why they can become such a deadly situation. So that fire off to the north is once again over the Cameron Peak Fire burn scar. You're watching it live right here. That fire is to the north up there in Larimer County. Second flash flood warning that's been issued there, second day in a row with that flash flood warning. You can see that it's in the low threat as well. So just because you're in the yellow area doesn't mean that you're not going to get a potentially deadly flash flood. It only takes one storm to anchor over one of those burn scars that are circled in red. And it does look like that storm that just fired is in the southern portion of the Cameron Peak burn scar. You can see that echo. The Cameron Peak Fire burn scar. It's about like this. So that is definitely over a southern portion of that burn scar. And a flood is likely growing in size. It all depends on how long that storm can anchor in that location and how much rainfall it can dump in a short amount of time. And it looks like that one's more than capable of producing 3/4 of an inch per hour of rainfall over the southern portion of the Cameron Peak Fire burn scar. But also you got that storm that's starting to gain strength to the south of Estes Park that could propagate to the south toward that wildfire burn scar. So definitely going to have to keep an eye on that as well. But you can definitely see this storm conglomeration here to the south of Rustic this time that's coming together. This one right now at least is dropping rain to the south of Highway 14, which is closed to the east of Rustic, I believe, definitely to the west of Rustic. But that's the new flash flood warning that has just been issued. And I'm thinking about activating chase mode right now. Whoops, I was just drawing on that. There's the latest radar. I'm probably going to activate chase mode and head off to the north and see if I can intercept any debris plugs that are caused over there over the southern portion of that Cameron Peak Fire burn scar. Definitely see that storm developing just to the south of Mount McConnell, likely dumping its core right there. And usually when these storms develop that cyclonic spin, it means that they're really dumping rainfall that likely the radar can't even keep up with. That's because there's runaway latent heat release. You get surface pressure falls, causes a general cyclonic spin, almost the formation of a miniature mesoscale convective vortex, and those are the ones that are really dumping heavy rainfall. This one still needs to do some congealing with those storms around it, but there already could be a dangerous debris plug being produced by this. Glen Haven is included in that warning as well. That's just to the northeast of Estes Park. So I'm going to plan my intercept now as these storms are definitely starting to mature. Thank you everybody for tuning in to my weather reports. And I'm just going to run this video with David Rankin and I teaming up there in Big Water, Utah to intercept those debris plugs to show you the potential dangerous floods that could happen from this event as well.
Number 2, intense intercept of significant flash flood and debris flow after dark down Last Chance Creek in southern Utah on July 13th.
Woo! Twice as large as I anticipated.
That was amazing! This is extreme meteorologist Reed Timmer ahead of a flash flood that is coming down the canyon here. Number 1, substantial flash flood and debris flow down Johnson Canyon in southern Utah, just east of Canal. Oh, wow! Wow! Oh! Number 9, flash flood warning, Wawweed Creek in southern Utah, just outside of Big Water, July 15th. Oh. Wow! Number 6, flood down the Poudre River on July 14th. Nice.
Another limb coming down right over here.
Number 4, flash flood and debris flow down Hermosa Creek, Colorado on July 17th. Mudslides would close the highway just to the north of Hermosa.
Yeah, you can smell it coming again. Dangerous debris flows and flash emanate from burn scars of significance that happened the previous fall or events. This will destroy vegetation debris to be carried away. Usually piles up on the slower moving debris plug on the front edge, and then will flow down Dry Creek and can even be life-threatening for campers or even structures that are located within the flood zone. Here is my coverage from the Cal Wood Fire northwest of Boulder. This burn scar is definitely being monitored today, with monsoonal thunderstorms expected to erupt across the Colorado foothills by afternoon. I'm also monitoring the East Troublesome Fire for a debris flow down the creek, Rocky Mountain National Park. Other burn scars have also been producing mudslide throughout Colorado and other locations in the western U.S.
I'm just to the northwest of the Boulder, Colorado area, and this is right in the Colorado foothills. This fire is the first one just to the east of the mountains here, the Front Range, and there's a big concern with a cold front coming in from the north. If winds shift off to a northerly direction, it's going to be a dry, cold frontal passage and shift. This fire could easily, and that's why there's been mandatory up and down the canyon here, road to the north. This fire is a big concern because it's to the north-related areas.
footage shows the massive wood fire burn scar to the northwest of Boulder. You can see how much of the vegetation has been burned away, exposing rock, ash, debris, and charred wood as potential to be carried away by floodwaters. If a thunderstorm develops over a burn scar such as this and dumps rainfall in excess of 0.75 inches of rain in an hour, then a dangerous debris plug or flash flood is likely.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, run.
Big one.
Run. Yeah, run.
Wow!
Number 2, intense intercept of significant flash flood and debris flow after dark Creek in southern Utah on July 13th.
Woo! Twice as large as I anticipated.
That was big. This is extreme meteorologist Reed Timmer. Ahead of a flash flood that's coming down the canyon here. Climbing up.
Number 1, substantial flash flood and debris flow down John Canyon in southern Utah, just east of Canal.